The moment you accept it, everything starts to shift. Acceptance makes all my problems go away. Accepting what life is throwing at us, massive. Massive, massive, massive.
When you realize that you can play this game from a place of zero resistance and take great delight in playing the game, even if you get spat out the other side and you don't get to win, that is a mind-blowing perspective that just blows the doors off everything and opens everything up.
Welcome back to Live Into Your Brilliance, the place where we go on deep explorations to find the experiments and the insights that help us see the brilliance that we are and to live the lives that we love right now. We thought this one was going to be a guest episode, but it turns out that the universe has decided that myself and Bilos need to have a two-way conversation because we've not done it in a while. So Bilos, how you doing, my friend? This is now an unexpected surprise that it's just going to be the two of us today.
Yeah, it's delightful. I'm sorry that our guest Linda couldn't make it, but I know we'll re-snag her. No, this is great, and actually, it's probably quite timely because there are a couple of things that I want to talk to you about and kind of put in the room. So I'm pleased to say I'm back in Boston after our little trot around the Highlands of Scotland and the Ring of Kerry in Ireland and the Wiltshire distillery opening in the UK, and had lots of fun. Met some amazing people. In fact, I met a woman who will hopefully be joining us as a guest on this podcast. I met her in Ireland, but yeah, I had an interesting kind of couple of things happen over the last 24 hours, which I thought I'd relay to you and get your take on it. And okay. I also know that, based on our chat just before coming on air, that you've had some interesting insights of your own. So I think this is just a perfect opportunity for us to kind of unload a bit and and give the listeners a little insight into our world and the practice, because I think you've said it before, and you said it before we went live about the life is a game of snakes and ladders, and I'll leave you to explain what you meant by that. But I'll just tell you what's kind of happened in our household in the last 24 hours. So Gracie, as you know, is a nurse. She's a nurse at Mass Gen, and she works on a surgery ward, which is pretty hectic. It's basically where you go before you go to ICU. And they get everything from people with like chronic diseases, organ failure, to hectic drug addicts, to alcoholics who are sort of on their last legs. I mean, she sees it all. And some of these characters are out of their minds when they come in, like literally they're not themselves. And so, they can be quite violent and aggressive and not very nice to these amazing frontline workers. And so Gracie had this incident where this guy managed to somehow get out of his restraint. Security had already put him in restraints, and he managed to get out of a restraint. And he was quite a big unit, and he managed to grab her and try to break her thumb, and she managed to slip out of it. And he used some very colorful language, and she was in tears and just sort of kind of at her wit's end, really. She actually took a photograph of herself and said, "This is the day that I quit." But she didn't quit because she's very resilient. But and as a parent, you feel so helpless because there's nothing you can really do except just be there and listen and express love and kindness and empathy. But I did sort of try to kind of reinforce the message that while these shitty things do happen to us, we have this wonderful opportunity to create our own experience of them. And that experience could be, us sitting in anger or sitting in in a corner and crying our eyes out, or whatever it is, however we decide to react to our thinking about what just took place. And it's very easy to say that and to type it in a text message to your daughter and try and express it in a very gentle way where you're holding it like a butterfly and you're literally delivering this message of love, because you're trying to point to something without being preachy, because you've had a few more years of grounding, so you're not trying to be preachy. You're just trying to say, listen, you are super resilient, you have everything you need, and see it for what it is. Because when you see it for what it is, then you can experience it the way you choose to experience it, and that could make all the difference. That's really the essence of the package you're trying to gently deliver. And so and look, and then the great thing is that she went on a night shift last night, and she had somebody else calling her the C word and using colorful language and being obnoxious, and instead of kind of doing what she normally does, which is just absorb it and then go away and and sort of bitch and moan about it, she just went full on and just had a word with this patient and told him that he was being incredibly rude and how sick and tired she was of being abused. And she did it in a way where this guy obviously knew that he had like overstepped, and he actually ended up apologizing, and then throughout the rest of her shift apologized like 3 or 4 times. But the wonderful thing is she developed this agency, she made a choice in that moment. I don't know what her come from was, but she made a choice in that moment and made all the difference. And she just experienced it completely differently than she had the night before. So I was feeling pretty good about that. So this morning, anyway, I went and I jumped on the Peloton. Christian van der Velde, God love him, took me through an hour of endurance training, sweated my bollocks off, got upstairs and had a shower, and then was about to make myself a high protein snack of something because I was starting to get very hangry. And Vanny comes in and says the sprinkler system's not working and you need to sort it out. And I'm like, well, fucking David came back yesterday and he said it was working and now it's not working. And why do we have this ridiculous fucking sprinkler system? And then we had to then take the car down to the garage so that it could get its annual inspection. But I had calls starting for work, and like it's just my whole little moment of just having my hangry snack and my cup of coffee just got blown out of the water. And I behaved like a petulant little kid and was not the best version of myself. And then I caught myself. And then I was like, okay, Bilos, you're doing it. You're not going to starve. You weigh 255 pounds. You've got plenty to go around. It's
Yeah, you've got
okay.
a few. You've got a few days of life support
Fuck yeah.
stored for
You
for
like
uh,
you essentially I'm a
for a rainy day.
dromedaris. I'm a dromedaris camel. I'm the human version of a dromedaris camel. I can fucking go into the desert for at least a week and I'll be fine.
You'll probably come
So
back out looking amazing.
so I'm like I I just it was such a privileged snotty moment of I need my food now and I need my coffee now, and how dare you inflict multiple chores on me in my little window between exercise and work.
Mhm.
And then I just had to start laughing, and then eventually I just said to Vanny, I'm so sorry because I'm a dick. And I meant that in the soft way, like in the
Mm.
kind way to self, but I was being a dick. And so I just wanted to share that because, well, those two stories, because I think when you're commentating from the sidelines on how other people are playing the game,
Mm.
it's quite easy. But when you're in the game, whatever game it is, you don't sound so sage-like.
Yeah. Well, because there's the fun. Like that's what's cool, isn't it? Like, and thank you for sharing those. And I've got a few things to share as well, which I get to. But like that is the fundamental difference right there, isn't it? Like with Gracie, we are observing from a place of detachment because we're not in it. And actually, you didn't even get to see it. So you're hearing about it. Uh, and and fair play, like you do the best you can do to point and to, as you say, to deliver a package of love that you hope will open something up, um, which is great, like, isn't it? Because that's what we want to do for our family and friends always. Um, and what's interesting to me is it always sounds so easy when I'm talking to somebody else. Hey, like you choose your experience, and you can just decide to be angry about this, or you can just laugh at it and blah blah blah. And none of it is wrong. None of it is wrong, but it makes it sound so easy. And I used the word with you before we came on air, which was, but right now, life is proving to be a very humbling experience because I think when we notice, and I'll share mine, but like, and then your second part of the story, it's like when we see the illusion of life, and it's all one giant illusion, but the illusion gets you by the balls and just throws you around a little bit, and you're taking the illusion very seriously until you then see it, and then it's like, huh, oh my god, like, oh my goodness, how did that even happen? And for me, what I start to see is, oh my god, the futility of telling someone they have a choice whilst they're lost to the illusion is it's an exercise in kind of futility in one sense, because when you're lost to the experience, I'm not even sure that you're, and I'm just going down a little rabbit hole of my own. When you're lost to the experience, I don't know about you, but well, let me ask you, when you were in that moment this morning, were you choosing that experience, or were you having that experience?
It was a blend, actually, if I'm perfectly honest. I was having the experience at one moment, and then I caught myself very, very subtly, and I ignored it, and I then chose the experience, and I knew what I was doing. And then I came back and I was like, okay, now I choose to step off the soapbox.
Right. Well, I quite like that because sometimes I think it's really important. I think that the first part is that we are having an experience more often than not. I actually think we're just having an experience. We're not choosing it. We're just having an experience. Now what the source of the experience is us. But I think for a huge amount of our lives, it's not an active choice. It's like we're having an experience, and for the most part, it's fine. And then every now and again, we catch wise. We catch wise the experience we're having, and then we're back and we have a choice as to what do we want to do now. And sometimes we think, oh, fuck it. Like I know I've got a choice here, but I'm going along for the ride on this illusion, even though I know it's probably not good for me, but I really can't be asked to step out of it. And then a little bit further down the track, we step out of it. Um, and what I've found humbling of late is realizing just how compelling the game is, remembering how compelling the game of life is, and the illusion, and what you said, like the difference between stood on the sidelines and been on the field of play is dramatic. So like I have started back in the. It's funny because I've been describing this way. I'm back in the world of work. Like I've not been doing anything for the last 7 years. So I guess I can say I'm back in the world of full time employment, um, working with an amazing company called Dual.Tech, and I'm there as their chief of staff. And it's a lot of fun. Um, but it's also been super interesting because I've accepted an invitation to come and play essentially a virtual game. And the virtual game is, hey, there's this idea, a collection of people, and we're calling this collection of people a company, and the company is called Jewel, and we are transforming the way that brands think about building their businesses, and it's all around brand advocacy, and we've got you know big ambitions, and we're category creators. Would you like to come play? And I've been like, yeah, I'd love to come and play. And since I've been in the game, I have noticed just how much I've gotten caught up in the idea of that, this is really important, and like that achieving winning this game really matters, and that time is running out, and that people need to think differently and do differently, and then I keep catching myself, which is kind of cool, but I keep catching myself and being like, oh my god, oh my god, like you've gone again, and this stuff, and you're still doing it. And to your point about kind of half catching yourself, this stuff, and that you've noticed yourself doing this, and you're still fucking doing it. What is that about? Like, that is the bit that's made me smile, where I'm like, yeah, I know I'm doing it. And I know that I know I'm doing it, and I'm still doing it.
The
And
power of the illusion, man. It is the power of the illusion. It's the
yeah.
power of the thoughts that we choose to believe.
Yeah. And where I come back to, and what's humbling and also enlightening, I guess, and enlightening sounds like a fucking big ass, like, what enlightening, is it has brought me all the way back around to, oh, it's remembering that none of it matters. And when I say none of it matters, I don't mean passivity, like in the way we've talked about as well. I'm like, what's humbling is to see, man, how compelling it is, how easy I fall into the traps. And then when I come out of it, being like, oh my God, like it actually doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that I was in the trap. It doesn't matter that I found my way back out of it. And then that opens up this massive possibility for me again, which is like, Jesus, like, wow, what an opportunity to play the game from there. Like, and if I was to
Mm.
take Gracie, and then I'll stop with to kind of hear, you know, Gracie in part two of that little chapter, she makes it different. She plays the game differently, and that's where I think it becomes really interesting. In one sense, she didn't go, "Yeah, I choose my experience, and it doesn't matter. Like I can just." So there is a choosing to have a different experience. It's also a choice to play the game entirely differently. And it's like, hey, you don't get to speak to me like this. Not in my not in my reality. So she played an entirely different game from somewhere, that understanding of like, no, you have a choice. You have a choice about your experience, but actually you got a choice for how you want to play, knowing that it's all a fucking illusion, pardon my language. But then it's like, so you can play. And that to me becomes a very cool inflection point, which is, huh, okay. Like, what do we do from there?
Well, I think you said something very interesting as well. Is when when you're when you're in the illusion
Mm.
and things are happening, and in some instances unpleasant things are happening, and you
Yep.
feel life is happening to you, which
Mm-hmm.
hopefully by now our listener kind of understands that life doesn't happen to you. You get to choose how you experience events. Um, but when you're in that, like you said, it's very difficult to say to somebody, "Hey, it's just an illusion. You get to make a choice. Your thumb's been broken. How do you want to experience that reality?" Like that's very difficult, and it's not always. It's just not helpful because you just end up pissing somebody off.
Mm.
And what you said earlier, I think, is the real key here: is you have to experience it for yourself. You have to experience the truth of it for yourself in order to then navigate your way out of the low IQ thinking, the mental health dilemma, the anger, the feeling of discontent, or whatever it is. Like, but you have to see it for yourself. And then you have to put something into practice, um, whether it's conscious or unconscious. Something happens, and in the case of Gracie, you find yourself in a very similar situation the next night, but instead of being fearful or being your usual doormat self, you actually stand up for yourself and you shit all over somebody, and it has a reaction which you totally didn't expect. But
Mm.
you've got to experience that. You've got to be in that awareness for it to really make a difference, for there to be a change, a shift, and a deepening of your understanding of how it all actually works. Because it's nice to hear when you're in a quiet place, somebody you can listen to, Al or Bilos or Dickon or Linda or Bill or Sid Banks. It doesn't matter. You can listen to any of them, Mavis. But until you're in that moment, and then you just have that little catch, and then you do something different from that place, that's when the magic happens, I think.
No, I agree. It made me think. I can't remember who said this, but I think I just saw it on like Instagram or something. But it was just a quote, and it said, "Acceptance makes all my problems go away. Acceptance makes all my problems go away today." Something like that. And it's always it stayed with me because I was like, "Fuck, it's so true." And even accepting our experience, like accepting what life is throwing at us, massive, 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 massive. Like whether we even like, because the choice of it's happening to us, it's happening for us. I think the first part is just accepting that, like, you've no idea what's coming next. Even thinking about your story, like, really, the reason why you ended up getting grumpy is because somewhere in your consciousness, there was like you had a picture in your mind as to how your morning was going to go. You felt great getting off your bike, and you were excited. You're like, oh, I'm going to have like my snack, and I'm going to have a chill and beautiful cup of coffee. And
Going
someone
to
just
watch my
met.
birds. I filled my bird feeder. I was going to watch my
Yeah, yeah.
birds.
And then the life came in the form of Vanessa. The universe just rocked up and said, "Hey, chump, like, I don't know where you thought you were in control of this, but that's not what's actually happening in your life right now." And and then, like, whether we call it ego or just like, but the human part of you is like, I don't like the fact the universe is messing with how I thought my morning was going to go. I just don't like it. I don't like, and Gracie, quite rightly, is like, I don't really like the fact that the universe put someone in my experience that's tried to break my thumb. But the first part is then acceptance, and it's acceptance of the fact that it's totally okay to be a grumpy old sod or to be an upset nurse. It's then, because I think that's the piece that I think I hear in what you said, is like, from that place of acceptance, the moment you accept it, then everything starts to shift. Because then you come back like, okay, that's fine. Now what do I choose? Because I'm no longer busy resisting or rejecting or bitching or moaning. It's just like, hey, okay, what do you want to do? And more often than not, I think that the answer is there's nothing to be done in that moment, and then you find out what comes down the track later. And if I was to think about my world of work, that's what I'm finding super helpful. Is I'll notice that I'm getting all caught up about something. It tends to be the idea that my belief is that something's broken and that the answer is obvious and that people are not doing it. And like, and then I get all agitated about the idea of them, or I jump into like, I've got to fix it mode. Like, that's kind of what happens at the moment. And then I notice it, and there's nothing really to do other than to stop doing that. That's kind of it. But what I am noticing, a bit like the Gracie experience, is I then catch it earlier and earlier. And then I'm like, oh, you can actually play this from an entirely, when it happens next time, I'm noticing I'll play it differently. Just even showing up in a little bit more relaxed and seeing that. And I really, for me, I'm seeing that the power for me is actually, wow, gosh, when you show up to the world more relaxed, it's amazing what happens as a result in terms of engagement, or amazing what people see.
It's the Christy Helverson, oh, well, that's what we're doing now.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. And then it just makes me think of her lovely retort to the question, where are you from? Here, right now.
Well, yeah, like that's the best answer I ever heard to like someone ask the question, "Where are you from?" It's
Yeah.
very cool. And her other piece, which she does talk about, is like, "Oh, that's what's happening today," or I think that is just
That is the acceptance. That is the
that is the acceptance.
total
Oh,
lack of resistance. It's just like, oh, okay.
yeah. The word that comes up for me though in this is and I'm linking it to Gracie's piece, and it maybe you're in what you've said, like the we've talked about this before, the power of choice. It's interesting. I'm not sure so much you can choose your experience. Interestingly, interesting. Maybe this will be one for another day. I'd love to go into that. Like, can you choose the experience that you have? I don't know. I don't know if I can. I'm going to go with more often than not. I think I'm having an experience. The bit that I feel like I've in even this conversation I've got the most agency over is the level to which I take my experience seriously, like it's a problem, any of it, and then the level to which I'm prepared to follow, my wisdom or knowing from there. And the reason I say that is because I think I have fallen into the trap sometimes of making my actions conditional on my experience. You've got to choose to have a different experience, and then from there everything will be different. And I think the order is slightly different in my mind, which is when you're aware of the experience you're having, whether you classify it as good or bad, but you're like, oh yeah, like that's the experience I'm having right now, and you accept it. I don't think you're choosing another experience. I think you're just opening yourself up to the next possibility. You're going to, like, can you say or do the thing that you know to say?
It's interesting. Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it, actually.
And then you happen to often have a new experience, but you still don't know what that experience is going to be until then. You're just having and then you notice that your experience has shifted and you're having a different experience. You're like, wow, like my experience has changed, but I'm not sure I'm changing my experience. Something's happening, and then I'm having a different experience. But more often than not for me, like I'll often notice it a little bit further down the track. But like, oh my god, my experience has shifted. Like I was there, I noticed it. Okay, and then after a while, I'm like, oh, my experience has changed, but I didn't change it. It shifted.
I think it comes back to choice rather than
Mm,
experience.
yeah.
I see what you're saying, and it does actually resonate with me. I like the way you've put it. I think if I had to rephrase it, it would be life doesn't happen to you. Life happens, but it doesn't happen to you, it happens through you. And in every frame you have a choice. What the experience might be, end up being is who knows. Like you can't sit there and say, oh well, if I choose not to be grumpy and totally resign myself and stop resisting the fact that I'm not going to have my little breakfast moment and watch my birds and drink my coffee, and I just surrender to it all, I'm not going to dictate the experience of it. I have an idea of what the experience might be like. It'll feel very different to being a grumpy sod, um, and getting into an argument with your wife. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you can't you can't dictate the experience, but what is on offer is the choice to stop resisting.
Yeah. And if Dickon was here, our guest from a few weeks ago, who was amazing, he'd just be laughing his socks off. He'd be like, "Wow, like yeah, guys, like you're having like a very complicated discussion about something very simple. Um, you're noticing that you're having an experience, and sometimes you find it funny. It's like sometimes, yeah, and I think that funnily enough, thinking about those legends and the OGs, if I the thing I notice about them most, and you point this out, they just find it all rather amusing.
Mm.
They find it all rather amusing how enamored that we often still are with the illusion versus being like, yeah, no, that's it. There you go. Like it doesn't matter. And the humility piece for me is just recognizing, oh yeah, I think it comes back to, and we've often said it on here, we're rookies, and we really are rookies. It's like, oh my god, yeah, this is an interesting game of life, and the illusion is the miracle. Like all of it is a miracle, and yet it's a compelling miracle, and that's a good thing. Like I've realized, I'm not sure I would want to live in a world where you didn't have this kind of roller coaster of experience. I think that's the kind of cool thing. Like you mentioned, I was talking about, the game is snakes and it's like a game. It is like a game of snakes and ladders. The game would be like snakes and ladders wouldn't work if it was called a game of ladders. You just rolled a dice and you got landed on a ladder and you went up and rolled the dice again and you just kept moving forward and forward. It'd be the most boring game in the world. But the fact that you roll the dice and it looks like you're going to win, and next thing you catch a big snake and you're like, boom, and suddenly you're down in the basement and you're not even sure what's happened and you didn't do it. Like you're just rolling the dice. And I think that's what's to be remembered is like, what is the one thing you've got control over? It's actually just rolling the dice. The choice is just rolling the dice and going, well, I guess this looks like the thing to do right now, and you do it, and then if it's your mood, sometimes you catch a ladder and you're like, "Oh, I'm in the penthouse," and the other time you catch a snake, and then you just come back. And life is the same. Life throws at you snakes and ladders. One day Gracie got a snake, tried to break her thumb. The next day she catches a bit of a ladder. She's like giving shit, and she's just like, "Hey, fuck you! I'm not having that." And she's like, and I like that game.
Mm. No, it is. It is fun, and the more you do catch yourself, and the more you do end up not resisting, and then seeing what unfolds from there, the more fun it gets. But to your point, you have to catch the odd snake in order to have those moments, and so it is the perfect unfolding. It's the way it's just the way it works. But it's, like even Dickon, being able to say, I think he said it, like there are still days when he like he just forgets, and he forgets, and then he's like, there, and then he has a good chuckle. Mavis also, I think every time she sees somebody forgetting or she forgets, she just bursts out laughing because it's the funniest thing to them.
And there's something in here as well, which is I want to point out, because let's say someone's listening and they might be like, "Oh yeah, okay, like it's fine," but that's not the game that I'm playing. And I'm kind of coming back to the choice thing, how we are creating our realities, and like we're the source of everything, even if we haven't realized it. Like Gracie chose to go and get involved in the game of nursing.
Mm.
And the virtual reality of nursing is kind of pretty well understood. It's like, hey, in this game, if you'd like to come play, here's some of the parameters you should be aware of before you come in. People are going to get sick and they're going to die. And people are going to get well and they're going to live. Some people are going to be really nice to you and some people are going to be really horrible. Some days you're going to feel like Florence Nightingale. And some days you're probably going to feel like you're a doormat and people are wiping their feet on you. That's the game. Do you want to come play?
Mm.
And Gracie's chosen to play the game of nursing and plays it bloody well from what I can understand. But that's the nature of the game. Now it's just a game, but that's just the nature of the game, and it seems pretty consistent that that's how it works. I've chosen to go back in and play the game of business building with some folks, and the rules of the game seem pretty well set up. You need to create money. The game kind of operates on money. You got to generate more money than you lose. You got to do these certain things. Some people are going to come in and do great work. Some people are not. Like sometimes you're going to try things and be successful. Sometimes you're not. You could lose your job. Like you can get fired. You might have to let people go. Like you're going to have investors. Like in this game, there are investors, and they make up all sorts of crazy shit about you need to be a gymnast and do the double, double, triple, triple somersault thingamajiggy in order to be a success. Do you want to come play? Other people play the game of not-for-profit. Other people play the game of teaching, of running a family office, traveling. It's just recognizing that we choose to play the games, and being super awake to the fact that like the games have parameters within them that are kind of largely beyond your control, but you can go in and you can affect the game from a different place. I think the more that you start to see, oh yeah, like this is just another, it's like Donkey Kong. Like I'm choosing to play Donkey Kong, and someone else is like, well, I'm playing Street Fighter. And you're like, great, no worries. Like we kind of go in and you play the game, and sometimes you win, and sometimes you go, and you're like, game over. You either choose you've had enough or you get kicked out of the game. And none of that matters. But it's I think is one of the greatest opportunities is to go, that's, see the kind of matrix. And then ask yourself the question like, ooh, how do I want to play the game? And this one is just super real for me at the minute. It's like, how do I want to play the game? Because I'm going back in after 7 years. I can just do what I did before, or I can play by everyone else's rules, or I can really. And I got asked by a friend of mine this morning. He asked me in a slightly different way, but it was, what do you want to be telling yourself in a few years' time about the game that you played? I was like, not sure I've thought about that as much as I would like to, because that's really all. That's all we get is to go, how would you like to play the game? The outcome isn't yours to control. That's going to be what it is. It's definitely going to have all these things in it, but the greatest thing that you have is the agency. You get to answer yourself every day. How do you want to play it today? How do you want to play right now? And sometimes you won't be as conscious to that, and other times you'll get remarkably conscious. You'll be so awake, you'll be like, oh my God, I could play this game entirely differently. Like I could literally play it entirely differently if I have the courage to really step into that opportunity
Mm.
of being like, no, you can play it however you want. And it does it for no reason other than you get to. Man, like it's resonating for me right now. I won't lie to you because I feel I've been feeling that today. It's like,
No, it's
yeah,
such
that's the
a,
question.
like the reason why this conversation has been so good for me is because I do forget,
Mm,
and I think you just so beautifully framed it for what it is. You choose to play this game, and you can hear the comments from listeners going, "Oh, well, that's bullshit. I didn't choose to have a mortgage. I didn't
mm,
choose to have a car payment. I didn't choose to have college bills or, whatever it is, like a retirement fund that I have to pay into. I
yeah.
didn't choose any of that shit." It's like, well, what game did you choose to play?
Mm. And there's also, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
There's a real no. Like if someone said to me, "Well, I didn't choose to play this game," be like, "Yeah, yeah, you did."
Yep.
Like you might have thought you didn't have a choice, but even that is, and that I think sometimes I think that's different from someone saying, "Well, I didn't choose, let's say, where I was born, or I didn't choose." Like, of course, like, but when we're saying, "Well, I didn't choose to the mortgage," more often than not, it's like, yeah, yeah, you did, you did choose.
Mm.
Might not have been a very conscious choice. How often are we sleepwalking our way through life, thinking that life is dictating the pace of action? Life is taking us on a journey. Like that's different. Like if you're in that illusion, I'd probably say, yeah, like listen to some more of these episodes because yeah, if you're living in the idea that it's like something else is dictating your world, then I like my personal view is we're off track when we're there.
Mm.
Off track and we're even if it's true, it's like we're making ourselves powerless. Because there is that, what do they call it? There's this determinism, isn't it? Determinism is
Yeah.
that everything is dictated anyway. And I'm like, cool. Well, that just seems like that does not seem like a choice that I'm down for. Like I'm down for maybe determinism in the sense of, oh yeah, like everything's going to unfold exactly how it's going to unfold. And I've got absolute free will.
Mm.
And if even if free will is an illusion, I'm down with that illusion because like otherwise it's no longer a game. It's not a game to be played then. It's just you just I don't know, just along for the ride.
I watched Salt Path on the flight over,
Oh
and
yeah.
with Gillian Anderson and Jason Isaacs, because I was very curious to see how they would handle the movie portrayal of the book. But it was just such a lovely reminder of exactly what we've been talking about, where you think you don't have a choice, and then shit happens, and you discover the power of discovering that you do have a choice, and the power of letting go, and letting go of the resistance. It was really wonderful.
Well, and I'm not going to say it too much just because like who knows what could happen, but have you may not have seen as the press coverage might not have reached the US. Um, but you know that whole story
Yeah.
has essentially been challenged as to whether
Oh
how much
no.
is actually big parts of it are true, but there's some funky perspectives coming out as to just how much is true and how much of it is also like a little bit embellished. So that's all I'll say. It's interesting. I was devastated when I read the article. I went, "No way! No, it's
oh
one of my this is like one of
no.
my favorite books." And
It is one of my
uh,
favorite. I buy it as a gift for everybody. Fuck me.
I'll send you the articles. Like, hey, who knows? Who knows? But it is. It's definitely there's been some questions asked.
Oh, that's funny. That is
It is
funny.
funny. It is funny. Oh,
Well, that just
but
blew
yeah.
out my candle.
Well,
No, I'm
man,
joking.
it blew out mine.
I'm
No, no, no.
joking.
It's like when I heard that, I was like, no, 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 no. Because the next one, if you've not read Landlines, that was even better for me. I was like, oh my days, this is incredible. I don't think that the premise gets lost, but it is just a shame when feels a little bit undermined.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Well,
there you go. Like,
that
there's an
is the
opportunity
illusion,
to go.
baby. That is
And
the illusion.
the insight that we see is still real.
Mm.
It's just like, oh,
The
like
wisdom's
now
there.
the wisdom's there. We could throw the baby out the bathwater and go, oh, well, if that part of the story isn't true, then none of it's true. Whereas it's just like, okay, not quite as pure as perhaps we thought, but then the wisdom that lives in it
Mm.
is still real, and the
Mm.
insights. Um, so, mate, what's this has been a fun. It feels like a while since we've done this.
This has been good. This has been good. I like taking you through the mundanity of my life and unpacking it and seeing what's there because like it does sometimes feel mundane, like just being a grumpy sod because you can't have your breakfast and watch your birds. But then within that is just a whole universe to explore. So I love it.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know, gets attributed to Einstein, doesn't it? Either all of life is a miracle or none of it is.
Mm.
And I think it's true. I think there's as much gold in the grumpy old man of a Tuesday morning as there is in, you know, the Salt Path or whatever, those incredible stories that we hear, or, when we have these amazing guests on. But I think that the truth of life exists in the mundanity as much as it lives in the miraculous, I think.
Mm. Oh no, I subscribe to that. I see the miracle of it all in the most mundane of things, and I'm seeing it more and more.
Mm.
So that's why I do love unpacking this stuff because I think it it's great for me, and hopefully somebody will be listening and be chuckling, going, "I know exactly what you're talking about,"
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and I feel the same way. And you have to experience it for yourself, like we said. You've got to see it for yourself. You've got to experience it, and then you just go and practice a little bit more and see where that
Yeah.
leads.
Or there's people listening thinking that we're smoking our socks. It's one of the two, but who
It's
knows?
okay. It's
Yeah.
okay.
So what's our bumper sticker for this episode?
As it was something along the lines of the it's like the seeing the beauty or seeing the wisdom in the most mundane of things. But I don't know how to succinctly capture that. It's like
Mm.
uh, it's like the God of small things. That was the title that sprung into my mind.
The what?
But
Say that again?
the God of small things. There's
Oh,
a wonderful book, but that was the title that immediately sprung into my mind, and I was like, within you is the God of small things.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. There's something in that though I really like, that you can find yourself in the wisdom of small things. Like there's
mm,
something there which is just that, you know, life life lives through the small moments. There's something there. It's like they're just moments.
mm. But then again, the other obvious one is obviously snakes and ladders. So to be like, life is a game of snakes and ladders. Enjoy the ride.
Yeah, I was down that road of like it's just a game. Choose how you want to play. You know, the humility, like that's the piece for me. The just the humbling reminder. Oh fuck, it's just a game, but
Mm.
it's a hell of an alluring game, and I as am susceptible as the next person, and I think I will be until the day I die.
Well, I
And
think
I love that. Yeah.
when you don't realize that there is an alternative perspective, and that you don't have to resist anything. You can play a game from a place of zero resistance.
Yeah.
Um, then then you do feel that the illusion is everything, and you do not have a choice.
Mhm.
I think you said it beautifully earlier. Like you you did make the choice. You just may have felt that you didn't have a choice. And I think for a lot of people,
Mm.
they are stuck in the illusion. They are stuck in this notion, like the thinking and the thought of I do not have a choice is so alluring and so powerful that it's hard to see beyond that. But when you when you realize that you can play this game because you've chosen to play the game, and you can play it from a place of zero resistance, and take great delight in playing the game, even if you get spat out the other side and you don't get to win. Like that is a mind-blowing perspective that just blows the doors off everything and opens everything up.
Well, so like, and I think what you've just put your finger on there is non-trivial, even if you get spat out the other side. And I think that's where the idea of, well, I don't have a choice because I can't afford to be spat out the other side.
Mm.
And it's like, yeah, that's called fear, baby. Like that's what that is. Like, we do have a choice. It's just, if we're predicating our choice on the idea that we that our experience is somehow on the line, that there's something on the line, then that is what I think holds people away from the choice. And I include myself in that. It's the, geez, yeah, but I could do that. I could say that. I could, but what if? And it's like, yeah, everything everything sits behind that. But what if? And I'm like, yeah, I know. What if? Like, I have no idea what follows. There is a what if. There's it's what will be. I don't know. If you're looking for a guarantee that you're going to get a payoff, like, sorry, like you might just find that you're gonna
Hit the
you
soft
find
path.
yourself on the ultimate snake, and you're gonna, like, your world is gonna fall apart. But that will it be exactly what was meant to happen for you.
Yeah, and then you can
And
write a book about it and then score a movie deal. So,
yeah, and then they can find out that you're maybe telling a few porkies just about, like, the snake and the actual ladder.
oh, rain
Um,
or
but
wind.
maybe this is
God
going to be.
damn
I know
it.
we got another session next week or this week. I think there's a follow on here. It all comes back down to the same things. It's like, the only thing, and you say this more often than I do, I think, it all comes down to, well, what's the one thing that gets in the way? It's fear. Fear. Fearful thinking, getting attached to our fearful thoughts. That's kind of it. I think fundamentally, fear of how the world might react, fear of loss, fear of pain, fear of hurt, and the reality is, whether we like it or not, you're going to get tons of that one way or the other. So, like, good luck with trying to protect yourself from pain or hurt or loss, or because that's happening. That's coming down the pike, regardless of what speed you go at, what turn you take. That is cast iron, 1 gazillion% guaranteed. So being afraid of it and trying to avoid it is a fool's errand, because it's coming for you anyway. Which then comes back to, God, if that's true, how do you want to play the game? If it's like that, that's what keeps bringing me back. It's like, damn, so it's just a game and that's guaranteed. Yep, it's guaranteed. So therefore, if you know that, the only thing that's up for grabs is how you play the game. And that's what you're going to remember. And, kind of comes back to that. No one on their deathbed seemingly regrets the things that they did do. More of them are regretting the things that they didn't do, the things they didn't say, the things they didn't give themselves permission, because they'd made up a storyline that somehow they were protecting themselves and others. But on your deathbed, again, not been there yet, but from what I can gather, I think that's the moment that you fully realize, oh shit, this was all just a game. And the lights are about to go out on this particular.
Well, I think the next session should be this concept of, like, that is the macro context, because I think that's a great kind of framing, and then this concept of I don't have a choice versus I choose not to.
Right. Well, let's do that on the next one, and let's go in. Like, let's get super practical on it as well. So to pull those out, because that would be fun to think about. Like, where does it really look like we don't have a choice? And then go, is that really true? Okay. All right, matey. This has been fun. I hope our listeners have enjoyed our ramblings, and until we are with you again, go play the game, have fun, and see what happens. And we will be with you next week. Go forth and live into your brilliance.